What's up, everybody? Apurva Terwadkar here, and welcome to the second week of the soft skills course from Yelgar Club. Congratulations, you have crossed the first week. I'm really glad that you are still watching these videos, and let's get started. So, first of all, I want to clear that I have given assignments to all of you. So, I really hope that all of you are trying your best to complete those assignments by today night, which is Wednesday today, so 9th of July, or 8th, sorry, 8th of July. Today by 12 o'clock I'll be putting out the marking scheme, and tomorrow night at around midnight, tomorrow Thursday 9th of July, you'll be asked to submit the assignments by then. So let's hope all of you have done your stuff. Now let's start with this week's first video. The name of the video was given in the curriculum itself. It's confidence of speech and body language. So now this whole concept of confidence of speech and body language, it all ties into some very important, very crucial aspects of conversations. So I'll be telling you about those in this video. So when I start with confidence of speech, there are many factors that go into how you think about confidence of speech. For example, confidence of speech can be interpreted as me just being confident about what I'm speaking about. Confidence of speech can also be the way that I speak about certain things. So there are two varying houses of this. There is the being confident about what you speak and the being confident while you speak houses. So I'm here to help you claim both of these houses, if not one. So let's start from confidence of speech. Confidence of speech, as I defined, has some very important aspects of when it comes to conversations and soft skills in general. You need to have very proper knowledge about how to do something. Now, confidence of speech is not a very technical thing to have, like, oh my god, this is some sort of code that I have to write in Python and you need this library and you need to know these headers and stuff like that. No, you have none of that. You need to just basically understand the basics of conversation and how to put yourself out there. So let me guide you through how you can become more confident in speaking. So first of all, you need to know what you're talking about. The major issue that people have about speaking is that they're not really confident about what they're talking about. For example, you go in front of an entire classroom full of people and you're talking about something using a PowerPoint. Now, a PowerPoint presentation is all good. Some people like me use Prezi as well. Sometimes I just use PowerPoint, but with better design as well. But the thing is, with people like me especially, I'm very lazy. So I don't really want to type out too much on the PowerPoint or on my presentation in general. I don't want to put in too much effort, but I want to give that impact. So while I will be covering all of the presentation skills point or the aspect of that in the last week, I'm just telling you that the impact is also the way you speak. The way you speak has everything to do with what people perceive about you. So when I say that you need to know what you're talking about, I mean you need to know what you're talking about. Because, for example, if I tell you you need to talk about artificial intelligence, I give you a presentation, ready-made presentation, you don't have to take any efforts. I give you the presentation, I sit you down, I give you an hour to study the presentation, and it's a very minimal presentation. It has only keywords and one sentence points that are not very detailed, but you have 1 hour. So what you do in that 1 hour is up to you. Now, when somebody tells you that you have 1 hour and that you have this presentation that you need to remember or understand, you sit down and you're like, okay, take notes, let's decide what to do. No. First of all, you need to understand the basics of what you are learning. You need to know if it's about artificial intelligence, you need to know what exactly artificial intelligence actually is. If you say artificial intelligence is the fake intelligence that people show about certain things, then you will be politely kicked out of the room. But if you know what artificial intelligence is, the capabilities of artificial intelligence, its joint partner known as machine learning, which is also very important, then you'll be very, very well received. As I said, do a background study. Always know what you're talking about and make sure that when you talk about something, you have your facts checked. Next, you need to assess the various situations that may or may not arise. So, for example, if I give you a particular presentation again and you are told to present it, but now you have a lot of time, in that case, or even if you don't have that much time, you still have 1 hour for preparation, you need to sit down and in first half hour you need to completely understand what all is being said here. If you understand what is being said here, you will understand how you can handle each situation. After that, let's say there is a discussion panel or there is a question answer panel and people are asking you questions about what you just presented. What will your response be to a question if you are not understanding a particular concept properly? Agreed, 1 hour is not enough to allow you to go deeply into a topic or deeply into a subject, but still, it is still more than enough time for you to plan out some, how do I put this, countermeasures into place in case somebody asks you a question that throws you off your feet. For example, if you say artificial intelligence and I mention chatbots, and you'll be like, what, chatbots are not artificial intelligence? They are. I don't think people actually say they are not artificial intelligence, but it's not that high level of artificial intelligence. So that's also very important. You need to understand the level of artificial intelligence as how do I put this, autonomous vehicles or self-driving vehicles. I've done a few presentations on that as well. So I know that there are around 5 levels of autonomy starting from 0 to 4, and then there are various different factors, various different features that are different from each level. So from 0 it is completely manual, you have to do every single thing, and as you go up you can have ABS, you can have basically lane changing, automated lane changing, cruise control, and Tesla's self-driving feature, and finally complete self-driving cars. So these are all of the, steps to complete autonomy in vehicles. So that is something that I know because I actually sat down and read about it, and I knew what to answer in each and every situation. Sometimes I did not know the answer, and then I would most probably honestly just say, हाँ मला माहित नहीं, I am sorry, माफ कीजिए. Actually, no. See, the thing is, sometimes, unless you are at a very, very high prestigious panel, it is very easy to just use the existing information you have to weave a web of words. When I ask you to do something that you have not done before, or when I ask you a question about something that you do not understand in the fundamental aspect, or you understand the fundamentals but you do not know the higher advanced part of it, then what do? So the answer to that is to use your words to basically fool the audience. Why would somebody want to fool somebody, especially when you're on such a prestigious platform? Well, because words are more important, and your appearance, how you appear to people, not the physical appearance, but when you're speaking, how you appear to somebody because of the way you're speaking. So that appearance is also very important. So in that situation, you need to know how to weave your words, and that is where confidence and all of that comes in, because if you know what you're talking about and if you know how to navigate the language, then you can use random words, you can use small parts from some other point, and then you can bring it all together and you'll be like, because this is this and that is that and this and that is this. You're not addressing the actual topic per se, but you are addressing it on a large, so people know that he knows something but not everything. So that's important. Next and most important, calming your nerves before any speaking. Now this is something that not a lot of people understand. Basically, when somebody tells you, no, tu chill, काळजी करू नको, don't be scared, it's just an audience, you don't have to be scared. It is very scary to go on a stage. So when people say that to me, I am genuinely, I want to punch them. But these days people have stopped saying that to me, but I'm pretty sure people say that to you all the time. And how do you combat that? How will not combat that issue, but the issue of being scared before going on stage, or as people call it, stage fright, or combating stage fright. So you can get a lot of stage daring, which is an issue that a lot of people get. So when you need to address this issue, how to calm down, you need to first of all understand how you are before and during and after this whole ordeal. If you're going on stage, so before stage, how are you? What is your general experience? Obviously you're scared shitless. On stage, you're even more scared, and after you've gone on stage, you reach a certain point after which you're calm again. So what works for you? How do you understand yourself? For me, for example, I tend to distract myself a lot so that I don't focus on the fact that there's a huge audience in front of me. That way I don't have to be scared all the time. I do get a lot of situations where I'm really really scared, because most of the times it's overwhelming as well. But you need to understand that you need to understand yourself to do that. I can get easily distracted if I want to, and I use that particular flaw in my personality to use it to actually just go into a particular topic without actually worrying about anything. Sometimes I just rush head on. I'm like, अच्छा ठीक है, हो रहा है, चलो होने दे. And then I go into it, and then I realize कि हाँ, this went better than it could have. Like, we are already planning for situations and how things would go wrong. So why not just go into it and see what happens? It could be a learning experience, it could be a fun memory that you could share with your friends. Anything can happen. Next and final point in confidence of speech is to have a planned guideline about what you wish to talk about. So, planned guideline. I wonder what planned guidelines actually look like. This is an example of what a planned guideline might look like. So this is one I have for this week. This week's first day's episode video thing. And this is one I have. This is the type I have for everything. If you stop, if you pause and you rewatch the video and read this again, you'll realize I've covered every point. I know what to talk about. These are guidelines. This is not a script. I do not want to read every word from the screen, because if I'm reading like this, like this, like this, then you will not understand who I'm talking to. Because even at this close range, you can see every now and then when I'm looking up to see the next point, you can see my eyes flicking upwards. And I'm not even joking, this is actually very distracting for me as well. So that is the thing you need to focus on. A guideline. These guidelines, when you think about it, close your eyes like this and think about how you need to go from point A to point B. It should be a known location. So if you're in your house, for example my house, if I close my eyes like this and I get up, then I'm supposed to turn right. In your case I will go left, but in my case I'll go right, then I'll turn left, then I'll go straight, I'll turn right again, and then I'll go to the door. That is because I have particular guidelines. I know that I need to go right, then left, then right. Those are guidelines. Same here. I have guidelines. I have a list of rules that I need to follow, a list of topics that I need to talk about. These guidelines will help you always. You need to, it does not matter where it is. So for example, if you're in a speech, people usually have a big speech written. That is a very good thing if you have to deliver a particular message. But if you're in a contest and they ask you to do an impromptu speech, so what do? You create a guideline list. You create a particular cheat sheet, if you want to call it. A cheat sheet so that you can get through your speech without actually losing track of any point. So this cheat sheet will help you focus on what is very important. If you start losing your focus, if you start wasting time on other things, you can have a look at the cheat sheet and realize, oh shit, I have so many more points to cover. And that way you can actually cover all of those points. So that is the basics of confidence of speech. I don't think you all need to take notes either, but if you want, I will be taking notes. I will like probably copy this and send it as part of the summary or something, but I don't think I will because I want you guys to watch. So watch the video. If you take notes, that is great. Send it on the group or send it to me. I'll compile it into a PDF that I can send it to you guys. But apart from that, there's no issue about it. Next, body language. Body language includes posture and gestures. Posture is the way you are sitting, way you are basically doing anything, and gestures are this. So there are many things. Now depending upon the type of conversation, postures change drastically. Now for example, in debates, debate is usually very civilized, unlike many political channels where debates are not really civilized, as they are very aggressive and tend to be so that somebody is probably trying to kill the other person. Anyway, uh, debates tend to be civilized, and in that case, you're usually supposed to sit in a normal way. Now, I can't exactly portray how that is because the camera is faced upwards, so me moving backwards is also pointless. So I can't really exactly express this in any other words, because if I want to show you, I will have to change the angle of the camera, and I probably will add a small clip. But the thing is, basically in a debate, you need to worry about your posture, as in you do not want to seem aggressive. Debates are very popular for becoming aggressive, very famous for being aggressive. Because when you're opposing somebody's ideas, you're opposing somebody's thought process, you tend to become aggressive. And that is where things go wrong. Because when somebody is opposing you and they're being very calm, polite, peaceful about it, then it is all well and good. Unless you are, you know, adamant and stubborn. In that case, nothing can change you at all. But if you are a very civilized person, then you will understand the difference between being polite and being aggressive. So if somebody is in a debate, if somebody is like, no, you are wrong, I know about it, then obviously you know what you need to do about that person. Probably just go and punch them in the face. But if you are actually being polite with somebody, so if somebody tells me that the earth is flat again, then I would obviously be pissed off. I hate when people say the earth is flat. But I am up for a good conversation, a good debate, an argument, etc. So, well, not an argument, I don't want it to become an argument. I will become much more polite because I completely disagree with that person. So, I'll become more polite. I'll be like, okay, why do you think the earth is flat? And then he'll be like, oh, because of this and because of that and stuff like that. And I'll be like, okay, so that's good, that's great, but here are some facts I want to put in front of you. Then you sit down, you tell him all of the facts, you give him the figures, you give all of this thing, you put forward your arguments, you put forward your points. And if he does not, or if she does not listen to those arguments, then it is hopeless to even expect them to understand. Because when you put forward facts and figures, then either the person in front of you is stubborn or adamant, or is just in general uneducated or illogical if they do not want to understand what you're saying. Although if you are wrong, you need to admit your defeat immediately. That is something you need to understand. So that is one thing, that debates usually it's supposed to be very comfortable and non-aggressive. You need to be as non-aggressive as possible, because even if you go to like professional debates, people will judge you based on how you are actually debating. I will link some videos if possible in the Google Classroom forum, and also in the description if possible, where I've seen a few debates where people, one, become very aggressive, and two, where they are so chilled out, it's practically not even aggressive anymore. They speak aggressively. Like for example, if I'm talking to a flat earther and I feel like he's not being or she is not being very logical, I'll be like, okay, listen, I know you are a flat earther and I don't like what you're saying, but these are the facts. You know that the sun moves around the earth he'll be saying, and I'll be like, no, that is not how it works, because the earth is moving around the sun, and this is proving what you are saying wrong. So you are wrong in that case, and I'm sorry, I'm saying you are wrong, but you are wrong, and stuff like that. So that may seem aggressive, but it's not exactly aggressive, because I have an opposition to his point. Opposing somebody usually does seem aggressive, but that does not mean you should exude aggressiveness. Exude, EXUDE. Go look it up in the dictionary. It's a great word to use when you want to say that you are giving off a strange vibe. If somebody says you seem aggressive, or that you give off an aggressive vibe, instead I can say you exude aggressiveness, and that is more than enough. Amazing words. So next, discussions. Now group discussions are very civilized, because you are not even allowed to oppose each other, because in a group discussion, well, you're allowed to oppose each other, but in a group discussion there are many people who are sitting together, and everybody has their points and views. So it's not just one against the other. Sometimes somebody has a third point to add in. So that is something also that people should understand, that group discussions do not necessarily have to be talking about one point from one or two perspectives. A group discussion is talking about one particular point from multiple perspectives. So for example, if I say that I'm talking about India, the group discussion is about the current state of India, and somebody says, okay, I want to talk about the financial state of India. Somebody else says, okay, that is all well and good, but I want to talk about it from an economic perspective. Somebody, third person, just jumps up and is like, well, the political perspective is not that good either. And then a fourth person who's from the academic sector, he's like, well, the academic perspective is not this, it's not that, and stuff like that. So this is how group discussions are. And you need to make sure in this, the posture and the gestures are very delicate. I say delicate because it is it's imperative that you maintain a very civilized posture. How? Let me tell you. So first of all, when you are in a group discussion, your voice, first of all, that will obviously be coming in later group discussion explanations and all, but your voice should first of all not be too high to make you seem like you're being aggressive. One. Two, your posture should be so that if you're seated on a table or if you're in a chair, try to make sure that you do not cross your legs. Okay, so if these are your legs, then don't put it like this. In case of girls, usually it is forgiven because they are forgiven a few things, but for guys especially, and in general, if it is comfortable for all of them, then you should try to keep your legs separate. Try not to cross your legs, because that way you are asserting dominance in that situation. Because when you have your legs crossed like this or like this, so like for example, girls usually have this sort of cross and guys usually have this sort of cross. So when you're crossing either way, you're trying to show us a form of dominance or a form of superiority, and that superiority will make the person in front of you feel dominated. If the person is submissive, that might help you, but don't try to test somebody, because when they will clap back, you will never know, and that is also not proper, etiquette. So that is one thing. Also gestures. When it is not your turn, do not, I repeat, do not interrupt using hand gestures and stuff like that. So if somebody is speaking in a group discussion and he's like, okay, so I want to raise a bit of an interesting view about something, this is my perspective about it, and from the other end of the table somebody is like, that is irritating. That is very irritating, and nobody should ever have to endure something like that. Because when you are listening to something, you are very focused about it. When you're talking about something, you're very focused about it, and some random idiot at the end of the table is just doing juvenile antics, and it just irritates you, and that is something you don't want to be doing either. When they're speaking and you want a chance to speak, wait for them to finish or pause. When they have a pause that lasts more than a second, then immediately you jump in and like, okay, I like your point, but here's what I want to say. And if they say, please wait, let me complete my point, or any of the following, you shut up and go back. Don't be like, no, but let me start, I have a very interesting point. No, because they were speaking first. So that is important. Posture and gestures, I hope you've understood. In discussions, that's completed. Discourse. Now discourse is basically where you are the only person who's speaking. It's a one-way conversation where you are speaking to a large audience of people who are sitting there to listen to you. Active listening. They want to listen to you. Sometimes speeches, public speaking and all of that, usually that's how discourses work. Most of the vlog videos, this is also kind of like a discourse because you are not exactly actively communicating with me. You are watching the video or you're listening to me speak, and then you are going to put down your doubts and comments. So that is a form of discourse. So there are no particular specific official guidelines, but you should remember one thing. A discourse is a form of influencing. So if you are going to influence someone, for example me, I am influencing you. So even though I am doing all of these childish antics every now and then, I know that I need to maintain a particular level or a standard of understanding and a standard of professionalism at some points when I'm talking about something very important or very serious. Even if I make jokes, it is to a particular limit. You need to understand where that line is, where that limit is, and you need to make sure that you stay away from that line. On this side, on the good side, not crossing. Now, posture, there is no specific posture. Just make sure you're not offending anybody by doing something really, really obscene or something like that. For example, I have seen a video where people don't really respect other people. For example, there's a discourse going on, there's a speech going on, and the person is on the stage, and there are many, many important people on the stage with him, the dignitaries of the stage, dignitaries of the dais, whatever you want to call it. And these people are much more important than him, unfortunately, in that case. So every now and then he should, first of all, you need to maintain eye contact with as many people as possible. So if there's an audience on this side, you look at them occasionally so that they know that yes, he remembers that I am there. And the audience, obviously you should like pick a few people in the audience that you constantly look at, so that way you don't have to worry about not including anybody. That is that. And for gestures, there is no particular limit. Just try not to be all the time, because that is just hilarious. Also, try not to overdo particular gestures. Try not to be so very importantly aggressively trying to communicate a point, because that way you will come off as ignorant, or you'll come off as childish, or you'll come off as very, very unserious. uh, I feel like I might have done that a few times. Anyway, diatribe. So as I mentioned in the first video of the first week, I explained the types of conversations. Diatribe is a form of venting. Venting meaning you're actually emotionally speaking about something, you're working on some sort of emotion, or you completely disagree with something but you're not listening to the other person's opinions, you're just going on and on. It's a rant, basically. R-A-N-T, rant. It is a rant of astronomical proportions because you're not listening to anybody. You don't want people to actually respond to you, you just want to give. It's a rhetorical form of debate. Rhetorical is a way to say that you're not waiting for a response, or you don't want a response. It just means that you're stating something without expecting a response in return. Diatribe is exactly like that. So diatribe is basically a debate, a rhetorical debate, or a rhetorical argument of sorts, where you're not even waiting for the other person to say anything. You just don't want them to. So that is how a diatribe works. And diatribe has no formal posture or anything. Actually, diatribe is not even formal, and that is an issue that people do experience in life. So if you are victim of a diatribe of somebody, please make sure to contact 1-800/stop diatribes / which is not a real helpline. Please do not call. So that is it for this video. I'll give you a small summary of what I just spoke about. So confidence of speech, you need to know what you're talking about, assess the various situations that may or may not arise, calm your nerves before speaking, or become calm before speaking, however you want to do it, it's up to you. Having a planned guideline about what you wish to talk about. 4 points, summary of confidence of speech. Body language, posture and gesture. 1. Depending on type of conversation, postures change drastically. 2. In debates, the formal way of posture is to be comfortable and non-aggressive. 3. Discourses, you influence others with your posture. While there is no official posture guidelines, it is suggested to be as respectable and as respectful as possible. In discussions, you need to your posture is very important. It means a lot more than a debate. So you need to make sure you're respectful of each other. I try where nobody cares about anything. It's a hopeless case. You just let the person go on. That's about it. So that's it for this video. Go on the forum, the Google Classroom post, and make sure you submit your assignments on the Google Classroom post. If you're a random person who is watching this video, who is not part of this course and just stumbled upon the public video, hello there. Thank you for the like if you have liked it. That's about it. Now for my students, my participants, my course consumers, thank you for sticking with me for so long. I know I may rant a bit at many times, but make sure that you finish the course. Comment below on the video if you have a doubt, but more importantly, course consumers, you may go to the Google Classroom forum. Please be active. Please submit your assignments by tomorrow midnight, and please make sure that you are on time and you reply to or respond to at least one of the posts, either on WhatsApp or on Google Classroom or even under the YouTube video, because there is no way for me to understand how to do something. So that is it for this video. Like, share. You've obviously hopefully subscribed. So that's it. I will see you in the next video. The next video, by the way, just before I end this, the next video is going to be about the intricacies of addressing people and logical structure. That's about it. I will see you in the next video. That's it for this video. Thank you and goodbye.